Hello, how you guys doing? James here. Well, I'm gonna talk about the state of Ohio where I live at, and a couple of people made a comment about this immigration thing. So the first video is Nick Shirley. You probably know about him, but here's the video, and I get back with my commentary.
You gotta go. Okay, I'm just asking. You can't push. Well, okay. They just literally pushed me out.
Nick Shirley, I hope you see this video. Please come to Columbus, Ohio. And if you come to Columbus, Ohio, you will find the exact same fraud.
More Somali fraud has been exposed out of Ohio. This is getting out of hand and they're all being exposed.
You get money through the state of Ohio. This is a money that gets.
According to one Midwestern Rhino Republican governor, apparently fraud is just part of doing business now.
It's a daycare center owned by Somalians and stuff like that.
Have you ever seen any kids in this place here?
No, not that I know of. I just seen it, the building itself. I've never seen nobody come out the building or go in the building.
You've never seen anybody over there?
No, not at all.
Everyone has been talking about Minnesota. Nick Shirley, the empty daycares and millions or potentially billions of dollars gone. But we're going to be talking about Ohio because that might be next. That might be Minnesota 2.0 because right now people are walking into daycare centers in Columbus, Ohio, and they're seeing the same exact things. No kids, locked doors, people getting aggressive when asked basic questions.
103, I am going to start Tai Chi because I still have 53 years left of
getting aggressive when asked basic questions.
So right now we are in front of the Great Minds Learning Academy. This is one of the many daycare centers, learning centers here in Columbus, Ohio that are associated with the Somali community. So this place here is the first place we're going to knock, and we're going to see if anybody picks up or answers the door. Let's see. So it's locked. We're ringing the doorbell here, knocking on the door. Nobody's picking up, so we're not sure what the hell's going on here, but we're gonna get out of here. Now there's somebody over there. How you doing, sir? You know anything about this place here?
It's a daycare center owned by Somalians and stuff like that.
Do you ever see any kids there?
Not because they use the back door, so I won't know if they is.
They use the back door.
Yeah, I've never seen nobody come in, but they use the back door.
But have you ever seen any kid? You live around here?
Yeah, on this building right here.
Oh, you're in this building?
Yeah.
You're in this building too? Hey, let me ask you, have you ever seen any kids in this place here?
No, not that I know of. They use the back, so I've never seen nobody come out the front.
You also see some potential SNAP benefits that's being taken away too. So
more Somali fraud has been exposed out of Ohio. This is getting out of hand and they're all being exposed. Listen to this. Somalis in Ohio are allegedly running EBT fraud rings using SNAP benefits to stock their restaurants, skimming cards to make millions. More than 34,000 Ohio households have been duped out of nearly 17 million in SNAP benefits from June 2023 to December 2024, with Somali migrant criminals using skimming devices at grocery stores to clone magnetic strip cards and steal the money, according to the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. In addition, a recent report details how Somali-owned restaurants and grocery stores in Columbus are exploiting benefits. According to the report, migrants own restaurants with attached grocery stores that they own. They buy their ingredients in bulk with SNAP from their grocery stores, then funnel the food to their restaurants where they sell it for cash. One report claims that the Somali migrant men who own the restaurants typically have numerous wives. That's crazy. They only have to claim their first wife, so that subsequent wives are able to collect welfare benefits that are then used to prop up the stores and...
Yeah, they're Muslims, and usually Muslims are able to have more than one wife, but you can see that they just know how to finesse the system. They're going through loopholes. They know exactly where to go and find exactly how to exploit and really run away with it by just connecting everything, their families to the business, using all these resources to extract more resources out of the taxpayer. It's crazy.
This comes as of a 2022 audit of Somali Community Link. A Columbus nonprofit funded in 2020 by Somali migrants exposed a reported $2.3 million in fraud from federal emergency rental assistance program funds. The investigation flagged missing rental aid, violations of cash management.
Let me stop and interrupt right here. In Columbus, Ohio, like with Section 8, there's a long list. Like I remember earlier, like some states that you would have to keep putting back, and they closed it. They had so many people that was on the list, and all of a sudden they reopened up the list 5-6 years later. Well, the reason why they had so many people on the list because they were allowing people, like in this case, the reason why it took so long to get housing for low-income working people because of this situation. And they still having problems with the CMHA. Currently, it was not recently with vouchers being paid to landlords.
And inadequate fraud safeguards. Despite these failures, the group, tied to local politician via campaign donations, secured $350,000 in state funding last summer for a community center, plus $100,000 from Columbus for housing and youth programs. Back in 2020, Somali brothers Hassan and Abdurrahim Norizo, former owners of Tawfiq Market in Columbus, were indicted for a 9-year SNAP and WIC fraud conspiracy totaling over $10 million. The duo allegedly swapped benefits for cash at half the value. Abdurrahim, who oversaw operations, was sentenced to 2 years behind bars. Hassan got house arrest and probation after a guilty plea. So you can defraud SNAP benefits for $10 million and you get house arrest and probation. Only if you're Somalian, I guess, because if I do that, if you and I do that, we're gonna go to jail for a long, long time.
This is why it matters. Columbus has the second largest Somali population in the country, right behind Minnesota. So in this video, we're gonna talk about Ohio, and people are asking the same question. Is the same scam happening again? Or is it possible it's even worse? Let's get into it.
Is this an attack on immigrants?
This is an attack on fraud here in the state of Ohio.
This Ohio lawmaker making some serious demands on what he calls reports of fraud within publicly funded daycares in Columbus.
You can see that this place is just a total dump.
More people are targeting Somali-owned daycares, looking for kids and suggesting fraud. Would you call these video clips allegations, or would you call them proof of fraud?
That's just an allegation of fraud.
Now, State Rep Josh Williams, who is running for U.S. Congress, sent this letter to the Ohio Department of Children and Youth, calling for more unannounced inspections and attendance audits of all publicly funded daycares in Ohio. He also wants to pull state and federal funds on the suspicion of fraud, opposed to a charge or conviction.
We're saying the funds have to stop until you prove that it is not fraud moving forward.
I mean, you go through some of these inspection reports and you do see non-compliance when it comes to attendance. Are you suggesting there is widespread fraud within publicly funded daycare centers in Columbus, especially those Somali-owned?
What we're alleging is that there is widespread reporting of potential fraud from individuals on the ground.
Columbus isn't random. It has thousands of daycare centers, home health care agencies, grocery stores, and nonprofits tied to government funding. Most people are just trying to survive. Most are not doing anything wrong. But history shows that a small group exploiting weak oversight to steal millions and millions of dollars. That is why people inside Ohio are starting to speak up. They're saying that this looks exactly like Minnesota. Same behavior, same resistance to questions, same money stream.
Absolutely. And right before this happened, I knew this was coming down the pipe. And I live here in Ohio. I live in Columbus. And I can tell you firsthand that area where that guy was showing that was on Cleveland Avenue. And on Cleveland Avenue in Morris Road, like when you get off of 71, and you go about 2 or 3 miles down on Morris Road.
I retired my wife, Brooks.
2 or 3 miles down on the road, all your Somalians going from here up past a lot of completely down to like Easton, and all the way back here to Cleveland Avenue, and up and down Cleveland Avenue. Another area in Columbus they have around the west side,
she could be a tool.
Hilliard area and things like that. But yeah, there's a lot of Somali. But not only them, but there are other people here too from Nepal. They have a nice population of people here. A lot of Hispanic groups are here. So yeah, your Mexican, your Guatemala, Central South Americans, Guatemala, you name it, they're here in Ohio. They're on the west side of the town. Sometimes they spread out, but yeah, and with my intro, I'm on Morris Road. When introduced, that's Morris Road right there. When I'm kind of introducing my video. But anyway, let's go to. They ain't the only ones.
So, staying in Ohio, because Trump, he is ending the Haitians' temporary protection status next month in January.
He should. They have given themselves a bad name. The Clintons hooked up with it, and they are really horrible. I had some beautiful lady that I had mentored years ago, my deceased brother Cliff Stewart, and I had to set up a rescue for her because after that earthquake in Haiti, she was exposing that a Catholic convent with mostly black nuns was taking orphaned young black women or girls and selling them into slavery for Jesus. That's just absolutely absurd. So they were trying to kidnap this woman, and we had to give her a rescue. One of those things you see in the movies.
Right. Oh, well,
See, that's what's going on back there. Barbecue.
Right.
You know who Barbecue is?
In Haiti?
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, but my thing is this though, because the same way we allow the Somalis to come here and become citizens because we had something to do with that war over there in Somalia at once upon a time, they should allow those Haitians to become citizens the same way the Somalians, instead of just giving them temporary status, because the United States in the last few decades had a lot to do, especially under the Clinton administration, had a lot to do with the corruption and breakdown of the Haitian government. So,
also, the Wilson administration back in World War I Democratic Party administration of Woodrow Wilson did not like the bad example Haitians set for American blacks because Toussaint Louverture had gotten them free and had a successful revolution against France. World War I, we were close allies with France, and they did not like us supporting Haiti, and it was a bad example for the American Negro, so they selected Marines from Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Georgia, North, South Carolina, etc., and sent them over there to Haiti where they could be very nasty to the black Haitians. That set the stage for that sicko Papa Doc Duvalier, and then his son Baby Doc, and then by then Haiti had gone to hell. And also one of the things that has caused a reluctance to deal with what you're talking about, that they try to keep quiet, is because of the huge influx of those infected with HIV/AIDS because of the traffic between San Francisco and Haiti that was occurring, that was felt to be spreading the HIV/AIDS epidemic of the late 80s and early and mid 90s.
Well, I want to play this clip here.
In about a month, the government's going to change the status of Haitians working there in that community from legal to illegal. That's about 10,000 workers gone. I asked if the governor has appealed to the White House. He tells me he's talked to everyone who will listen.
These people who are currently legal, who came here legally, their status will change and they'll no longer be legal. When that happens, all those employers will no longer be able to employ them. And so that one day, all of them are going to be unemployed. And these companies are going to start scrambling and trying to figure out how are we going to make our production. They're eating the dog.
This issue, you'll recall, was a big one during the presidential election. I'll have more from the governor on things like why he has yet to endorse Republican Vivek Ramaswamy for governor, and if he thinks that Democrat Amy Acton, his former employee, would make a good governor.
All right.
See, here's the thing. The policy says we're going to make you hire Americans. And if you don't like the quality of the workforce, we're going to compel you to do something about that and train them and condition them to be good employees. I just had a bad complaint from somebody who was a manager, overall area manager for several McDonald's franchises, and he astonished me. He said, it's true that we don't, do what you think. We actually have pictures of the product on the keys because we can't even count on some of our employees being educated well enough to even read the prices on the menu and put them into the cash register, so all they do is put to the keys. Now he says he's having a problem with employees who cannot identify the product with the pictures on the keys. And it's gotten that bad. So I said, well, you're going to have to train them. He said, obviously. He said, but they won't allocate any amount of time reasonably necessary to make up for these personal deficits. They aren't educated. They don't have a sufficient grounding in math to do simple arithmetic, adding and subtracting. They can't count change. That's almost an impossibility, and they are on their cell phones gossiping half the time and loud and disturbing the customers. So what are we supposed to do? I said, well, if your job is the manager to take care of that, use the initiative. Just say, we're going to have to reduce our services while we train some of these people for a few weeks. And that's essentially what you're getting. And another thing, too, they're going to have to watch South Korea. Blue Oval, that people think is with Ford Motor Company, which it is affiliated with, but it is a South Korean corporation. It defrauded St. Louis, allegedly, of $178 million a few years ago, and now it's in the Memphis area, and we are set to spend several $1 billion developing that so the local Democrats can have money under the table by changing a 5,280 population of Mason, Tennessee, to 250,000 inside of 5 to 10 years to accommodate this place. They're hiring 30,000 people. Is supposed to start production inside of 2.5 years. The company is boasting that it's already hired 15,000. But they have to be brought here, and they're running into problems now because they're South Korean citizens, not even possessed of an American green card. So what is this? You're bringing in a factory that will have 30,000 employees, and nobody that lives in this country is supposed to get a job. And ICE just had a big raid on one of the Korean automotive manufacturers down here south of our border. What's going on? South of Tennessee's border. So this isn't the only thing that has happened around the country. It's widespread. Now, granted, there are some problems. I'll give you one thing that they do need to change in the American workforce. When I had a ranch out in Ojai, California, I could always tell when a contractor was hiring illegals. You know how? They showed up to work early or on time. They took small breaks or none at all, and they politely asked if they could bring some cervezas to have with a couple of limes out of my citrus trees so they could have a happy hour on the spot, and they'd keep working until they got through with it. Meanwhile, anybody else, don't care what your ethnicity is, you're from the U.S., you get there late, you take long breaks, overextend your lunch, and you don't do your job.
Can you hear me? I just want to make sure you can hear me. But I wanted to say this, because to your point, what you just said, so we're talking about 10,000 to 16,000 TPS Haitians here in Ohio, and it's February the 3rd, that's the expiration. So the governor is in, when you talk to business, and these are business owners, because at the end of the day, as a business person, it's about bottom line. You want to make a profit, right? So he says, when you talk to businessmen and women who are employing them, what they tell me has not changed. It continues to be, we need them to work. They are reliable. Yes, there are language challenges. Yes, there are cultural challenges. They work. They want overtime. They're reliable, and they pass drug tests. And when I read that drug test, that is, can you see me and hear me? Okay. major factor on why a lot of young people and older adults, Americans, black and white, are not working because they can't pass a drug test. Coming from North New Jersey, you know, with the mayor Ross Baraka, when he was elected for the first time, it's a lot of programs that he helped usher in, employment for people to work, you know, whether it's entry level, mid level.
Sorry about the interruption, man.
The more you stay home, the less you want to leave. And the more you stay, the heavier everything feels.
The Somalian community in Minnesota is so cooked. This like the worst PR any group of people can ever get.
The Somali community still has some problems, and it's not looking good. But the one thing about the Somalis is that they're not backing down from anything. In fact, they think it's funny.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course I live in a big house funded by United States taxpayers.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course we have the most luxurious cars.
But it's stuff like this that really piss people off. And so this happens.
This YouTuber called Nick Shirley linked up with another dude who's already been investigating fraud in the Somalian community in Minnesota. And they exposed $100 million in fraud from the Somalian community. They so cooked. This video here went so viral that the president of the United States reacted to this.
So there is a YouTuber by the name of Nick Shirley. He's kind of an investigative YouTuber. Dropped this video called "I Investigated Minnesota's $1 billion fraud." Of course, we know about some of the scandals going on with Minnesota's community. It was a 43-minute video, and it almost has 2 million views. Allegedly, the video has so many views that Donald Trump has even talked about it. The reality is this: these inspector or investigative videos have also brought out other things that the Somali community was not expecting.
Here in Minnesota, a local realtor reached out to me to tell me about another way that Somalians are scamming Minnesotans out of their taxpayer dollars. In her community alone, Somalians have bought up over 455 homes. They buy these homes, claiming they're turning these homes into home health care centers. She says the way we know Somalians have bought these homes is because all of a sudden, extremely nice cars start showing up. Mercedes, BMWs, the nicest cars are parked in the driveway. And she said by law, the state will not come out and inspect these homes and make sure these homes even have clients living in these homes. She also said, as a realtor, she cannot disclose to people wanting to buy homes in this neighborhood that Somalians have bought that home and they're using that as a home health care center. She said these homes can even take people in who've just been released from jail, and the neighborhood does not need to know about this. But she says many of these homes do not even have clients in them. But the state is writing them checks every month for the clients that the Somalians say are in these homes, and these Somalians are making millions of dollars off of these homes every year. The Somalians have figured out exactly the perfect plan as to how to scam Minnesota taxpayers out of their money. They are banking on this, making millions of dollars, and the government here in Minnesota is too lazy to go and check it out and to see if there's even clients living in these homes. The fraud in Minnesota is so deep.
So again, we keep hearing about these particular empty businesses. We've heard about it also with Section 8 housing, the same things, in these very, very nice cars. We hear about it right now with the real estate scams. And then we also hear that, listen, all of these dudes have these very, very nice cars in their apartment complexes or in the houses they have. And this is interesting because it just shows like they're completely apathetic. They do not care. They don't care what anybody thinks. They're just doing this out in the open. Like they're flaunting, just like the first initial kind of clip went. But it's not just the real estate scams that are hurting them.
As part of its social services, Minnesota offers something called non-emergency medical transportation. This is to take the elderly or disadvantaged to any type of therapy, medical or dental, anything, probably even yoga. Research by Nick Shirley shows that there are 1,020 registered companies providing this service. More than 800 are Somali owned. a check for payment. How many of our taxpayer dollars do you think are going down this fraudulent rat hole?
So this is a guy that's talking about an elderly scam. Again, a lot of Somalis are involved in the healthcare industry in Minnesota. This is not everybody, but this is something that is becoming a problem. And so they're saying that, hey, they're taking the elderly to these places. They are not doing so. They're pocketing the money. And then the state of Minnesota is just signing off on it. But then there is this problem.
Nick Shirley, I hope you see this video. Please come to Columbus, Ohio. The reporting you did in Minnesota was amazing. Thank you for that. And if you come to Columbus, Ohio, you will find the exact same fraud. You will see the exact same things. Daycares everywhere. The home health care. I mentioned that in my video. I do not have your bravery to go out here and knock on doors like you did. I don't even want to leave my room right now, okay? But you could come here and do what needs to be done. Please. Please investigate. Please talk to our government officials. And you see how the police escorted you out of that building? The Columbus police are on the same take, I am sure. Allegedly. Let me say allegedly before I got the Columbus police coming after me, as well as the Somalis. It's a lot. In the meantime, please come here and investigate. You will find the exact same things, and the rest of the country needs to know that it is real. Thank you for all you are doing, and please, please, please stay safe.
So this particular sister lives in Columbus, Ohio, and that's another place where allegedly the Somali community, they reside there. They're doing business there and things like that. So this is something that's very important. Now, what she has alleged is that Nick Shirley should come and also do investigative journalism in Columbus. Because see, what happens is so many people become afraid because they don't want to go out and do it themselves. They're elderly, or they're afraid of what may happen. They're afraid of what the police may do. They're afraid of what the Somali community may do. So they don't want to do it. The issue is now that when people start to see what's going on, they start to put a kind of like a bird's eye view on your community. So other people start to say, hey, come to Ohio, come here, right? And I've talked about this before. And again, you would think that the Somali community would just say, you know what, we really need to stop and, stop doing what we're doing. But the reality is the opposite. So now what these people are doing, in particular, not just black Americans, but white Americans, is now they're pulling the lid off of the trash can, if you will. And now they're looking at these empty healthcare facilities. Now, if the state of Minnesota were signing off on these things, and if they were just approving these budgets for taxpayers before, here's what's going to happen. Now, Minnesota has to show, as a state, that we are fair, okay? We want parity. We want trust. And this is what guys don't understand. A lot of these dudes that dealing drugs or dealing fraud, they think they're too big to fail. The problem is that when people start to realize what you're doing and how it affects other people, then the only next step is to hold what is accountable for dispersing the money. In this case, it's the state. The state, regardless of being Democrat.
Do you have a car? And
absolutely. And the thing about it is, places like Minnesota and here in Ohio and other states, there are going to be people going to have to suffer because of what the Somalians did. Because now they got to redo the program, and then people who are in certain housing and these certain services, like the elderly gentleman and other thing, it hurts. Then it might hurt a legitimate business that do things with the state. But the council, I did in a video, and the mayor of Columbus was willing to, block ICE from anything, from uncovering this. And I did a previous video that I didn't even know this was going on until it was a paper in Washington, D.C. told about this this thing that the Somalians did about a few years ago, 3 or 4, 5 years ago. It wasn't even here in Columbus, so they kept it out of that part out of the media. But now they have to, because now this thing has went worldwide, and now that it's on social media, now the news stations are picking up, but the news stations are not picking this up in Columbus, Ohio. Until this thing with Minnesota blow over, and then now they asking questions here in Ohio, and I said, oh shoot, it was the Somalian community. I said they're coming down here next, and they went to Maine. They're going up to Maine, out to Kansas City, out to Portland, Oregon. There's Somalians out there, and now they're going to do a major sweep. And in the next video, I'm going to show you that there were Somalians were in England. They deported them back to Somaliland, so they're going to be leaving here. And if some of them don't do the time, but if they do the time and they get out, they're going to have to probably exit them out of the country. And Donald Trump is in for another, this is 2026, 27, 28, so you got to do this for another 2.5, 3 years. This one, but Ilhan screwed up for the whole, now the Somalian, unfortunately, is a target on their back. And I think it might be some legitimate Somalians trying to get legitimate education and business and whatever, but look what happened. This is what caused it. And then what they thought they was gonna get. They thought they had their foot in the door. And just like the Haitians, now the Haitians they're gonna have to leave if there's any of them still left. They had some here in Ohio, in Columbus just as well. That other city was Springfield, which is about an hour and a half away from Columbus. And that was a big thing a few years ago. That's when Donald Trump made that they're eating the dogs. That wasn't going on out there. And that was debunked. It was no Haitians snatching animals off the road. Even if some of the residents kind of say, no, that's not happening. Even some of the Haitians even said that. But yeah, this is a wake up call, and it's really sad because when a single elderly person go and get food stamps or snappers, SNAP, they can't get it now. And then when they give it to you, it's like a few $100s. But the Somalians get about a couple $1,000. Go figure that out here in Ohio. So they messed up CMHA and Job Family Services. And now, if we don't, as Ohioans, we'll be going to be put in the same position as Minnesota. And we need the services here because we have a growing population here in Columbus, Ohio, and throughout other cities in Ohio. It's really messed up, man. And and I hate to say it, that certain individuals in a certain party, which is we know it's a Democrat Party, is going to make it rougher on people who it already is. Now the people, what about the people who do know? Do you know we have like Minnesota and other places, Columbus, it is their homelessness is even increasing. They don't even have enough housing and stuff. That's why they're trying to figure out where to get the grant money. So you don't want to screw over when you need federal money to bring it to state money to have more adequate, affordable housing and do something for it. And so programs to get some of these folks off the street. But it's growing. I don't know how, it may not be extreme as other cities, but it's up there. Our homeless population is up there. People losing evictions and things like that because of they ain't even recovered over the pandemic. There's people still homeless from that. But they don't care about this. But they really fight for some people that can technically have took advantage of the system. And when these other groups of people they sponsored, that moved the other people who were already on Section 8 and need housing in Columbus and see like Columbus, a longer wait, another 2 to 5, 10 years to get your voucher. Would you need housing if you're a single mother or elderly person or somebody with a disability? This is the reason why. And these are Americans that maybe or veterans or somebody got disabled from a job or something, or like I said, a mother that has a disabled child as a daughter or kid. They hurt now. But they willing to protect somebody. So, Trump decided to do to Ohio, we're screwed. Like he's about to do to Minnesota, because he just snatched their benefits away. Ohio can't afford to do that. Trust me. Not places like Cleveland and Cincinnati anyway. And Youngstown. And a few other cities. It will hurt them. Trust me. Even more. So they really need to think about this. Let them do what they got to do. Just until he get out of office. It ain't gonna work. The courts, and even if they do take it to the courts, they're gonna be going. Meanwhile, people are gonna be suffering trying to go to the appellate courts, to the Supreme Court, and back forth. And it's crazy. So the moral of the story is, whatever state you live in, make sure you vote for the right people to put you in to the office. And I guess we're gonna have to bear and bear, because it's gonna get rough. It's gonna get worse, because this gave him an excuse to do what he do. Now we all have to suffer, and not only that, we got to suffer because of what he about to do, which is even was worse. But now that this confirmed, this gives probably that rich billionaire Elon make people even more miserable. So and both parties at fault, Republicans and Democrats. I'm not for either one of them, because they both was in on this. It don't matter. But at the end of the day, who suffer? The low working class, poor, impoverished people that have been trying to have a little relief, even though majority of us is in considered poverty status. Alright then, guys, take care, be blessed. See you on the next video. Like and subscribe. And just pray it'll be another day. Take care.